Hey there, everybody. What's going on? It's Jordan Johnson, and it's time for another episode of The Hack of All Trades. I am your resident hack, your guy to try all the things that you want to buy. But you're smart with your money, unlike this guy. Um, so, episode, not too much new gear. All my new gear was yesterday. Check out that episode if you want some gear. Gear. John Glaser Loves Gear reference. If you watch John Glaser Loves Gear, you're already one of my friends. And if you don't watch it, then you need to watch it. And if you're a regular viewer or listener, which I know you're probably not, because I know the numbers, you probably noticed I'm wearing a similar shirt as yesterday. Actually, don't tell anyone. It's the same shirt. I'm gross. Yeah. Same shirt as yesterday, except it's reversible. So yesterday it was blue and gray on the arms. Now it's blue on the arms, gray on the chest. Seems like a different shirt. I don't even know why I had to say anything. Just so you can know how gross I am. I'm a gross human being. I don't know why my fiance puts up with me, but she does, and I love her for it. But yeah, nothing too much to cover today in terms of like new tech or trades or whatnot. But I'm just going to try here and do an improv episode, just kind of talking, rambling. As you'll notice, I'm using a new camera angle today. For all you podcast listeners, it's going to make a huge difference. But for all you people on the YouTubes, set up my camera a little bit better. It was basically on the side of my monitor, on each side, right underneath the camera here. The camera is on top of it. I have speakers, some bookshelf speakers, some real nice Yamaha C603s. I talked a little bit about those in the last episode. But I put my camera on top of those on the side because it's more at like eye level. And it's supposed to be a little bit more personal when it's at eye level. So I was trying to do that. And if I put it on top of my screen, it's looking down, which that can be good too. For like, I don't know, other YouTubers or whatever seem to prefer like a camera looking kind of slightly down, like it's higher than them. But I kind of go for this eye level thing. I kind of like it. It also, I don't know, just kind of makes it nice to be like off centered, not just right on top of my computer. I don't have a little gadget there. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind on the side over here. So that's the new setup. So now you can see this lovely side of the room. It's much more picturesque anyways than a window, and also that window was letting in a ton of natural light, which I basically had to close the blinds because it was overexposing and I was really dark up in front. If you watch my last video or you see the thumbnail of it, you'll see just how dark it is because of that effect that happens. So now the natural light is not in the camera. It's just coming in on me. So I think I'm going to look mighty fine during this episode in comparison to some of the others with my poor lighting skills, because I'm terrible at lighting. That's not my forte. But yeah, no crazy new gear or anything to talk about. One thing I can show off is this fancy new website over here. So I built this for a client past week. They're local. I always like working with local businesses. Doesn't mean I won't work with people who aren't local. Just it's nice to help out the locals, and built them a new website here. So as you can see, they're Mr. Tux's formal wear. They rent tuxes to dudes or dudettes who want to wear tuxes. But really just kind of meant to be a simple site here. Big upgrade from where they were previously at. And yeah, really just simple, clean, look, kind of classy. We got the serif fonts going over here, so it looks real nice and classy. But yeah, just finished this one. If you guys care to check out that website at all, it's Mr. Tux, MRTUX, FW.com. So Mr. Tux, no S, not Mr. Tux's FW, Mr. Tux, FW, formalwear.com. That'll get you over there. you can see my beautiful work on the latest website I built. Pretty happy with it. Again, I like helping local clients. Just something nice about, kind of helping out a local business that I do enjoy quite a bit. So that's it for, I guess, cool things I've been working on. Cool things in my life. We just had that website launch, and then they also have a bridal shop, but that is not ready yet, that site. So we are going to, well, I will show that off to you later when it is ready. You're wondering kind of what I'm cleaning here. It's this cool, check this out. This adorns my desk and probably forever will. It's this cool little dish with a little octopus inside. And the reason I have this is it's done. I actually did a trip. I studied abroad in Japan twice, actually. And the first time we went there, we actually went to Okinawa, which, if you don't know much about Okinawa, look it up. Really interesting place, really crazy history. Yeah, they're like not quite Japanese, not quite Chinese, not quite Taiwanese, kind of a mix of both. If anything, they're closer to like Taiwanese and Chinese. But Japan lays sort of claim to Okinawa and has for a while, sort of undisputed claim, if you will. I mean, not really undisputed with China, but it's kind of this weird island of, they speak Japanese, they consider themselves Japanese. But with their history and with going there and learning about it, it's just a really fascinating place. It's weird because, like, Japanese from the mainland don't really, apparently, at least from the ones, or at least from what we talked about too with Okinawans, they don't really view Okinawans as true Japanese. So there's something elitist sort of within Japanese culture with that. Being truly Japanese. There's a reason it is so hard to get citizenship in Japan if you were not born there or do not have Japanese heritage. It's just, like I said, it's a bit of an elitist thing, and so they kind of view Okinawans as less, which creates this weird sort of thing. But Okinawa is this small little island off the southern coast, kind of in between, like I said, Taiwan, Japan, and China, floating out there. And it's just really interesting. It's got a really interesting culture entirely of its own. It's basically like, imagine if you were traveling and you had never been to the United States before, and your first state that you went to was Hawaii. And you went to Hawaii and you thought, wow, this must be what the entire United States is like. This little island represents, the mainland. That's kind of what going to Okinawa is like. You should not expect your experience in Okinawa to be like a full on, like whatever sort of full Japan, full bore thing. Just like Hawaii is a much different experience than most of America. Similar with Okinawa. Okinawa is a much different experience than the mainland. It's kind of an island culture. Everybody, it's funny, they kind of wear like tropical tees or tropical t-shirts, almost like Tommy Bahama kind of shirts, are like their formal wear. So they'll go to a business meeting in like, this kind of Hawaiian look. And it's pretty funny that that's like their formal wear just because they're an island, very laid back, very nice people. And it's just a much different vibe there than the mainland. Okinawa does have a bit of a crazy history with World War II, which was one of the crazy things I learned while I was there, which I really didn't have much knowledge of, was really what happened at Okinawa. And not too many people talk about it or really know that much about it. But it's pretty horrific, kind of what happened on that island. And I'll sum it up without making you too sad on your Tuesday or Monday, whatever day of the week it is these days. I don't even keep track. But basically what was happening is the war was kind of like nearing an end, and the Japanese convinced basically Okinawa or Okinawans that, and even themselves, or basically the Japanese were convinced that the Americans were the red-haired, red-eyed devils. Basically that we were like the imagine like a ginger. That was like their view of like the American devils coming over, and that they would do terrible, terrible things to you if they caught you, if you became like a prisoner of war, or if you were just a civilian. They basically convinced the Japanese and specifically the Okinawans, all basically that these red-eyed devils were coming from America, and that if you even basically felt in danger, you should take your own life and your entire like families. And so that's where things get really dark. Is when we were there, we visited some of these suicide caves, literally what they're called, where literally entire communities would be hiding in that cave, trying to basically stay away from Americans. And then, if they ever thought they were going to get caught or, whatever, if their troops were just getting too close, basically they would all commit suicide in the cave. And the sort of pecking order was just even more sort of depressing about it, where it was basically the dad's responsibility to help the other family members commit suicide. So basically the dad would like kill the kids, suicide the kids, his wife, and then himself. So you could imagine what it would be like being a father in one of those caves where Japanese have convinced you, you're totally convinced that if these Americans get to you, they're going to do horrific things to you. Way more horrific than just taking your own life. And so people were jumping off of cliffs. There's a huge cliff in Okinawa that's famous for this. There's tons of caves where communities would huddle up in, and yeah, and it's just crazy. It's really crazy. One of the most messed up parts of it was that Okinawa was not informed that the end of the war was sort of near, and that the I can't remember if it was that lull between the atomic bomb drops or what, but basically most of these suicides happened at a time where if Okinawans would have just been told that the war was like over, that it probably would not have happened. So the fact that the Japanese were not basically telling them or being, transparent with Okinawans and kind of let these tragedies happen there. And there are it's not the same as one of the bombs, but the numbers for how many people died, Okinawan civilians died during this time, is crazy that we don't talk about it ever. Talk about the bombs, but we don't talk about this sort of forced suicide, crazy business that happened just off the coast. And so if you look into Okinawa, it is crazy, and just a crazy history. And then you go there and the people are so nice and so happy. And it's one of those crazy things that happens when a civilization or a country or a community goes through an intense tragedy and sort of the aftermath of that. And what is incredible is just the Okinawan resilience of just, you would think they would just hate the world. They would basically hate everyone after that, right? Not only are the American devils, and then you got you were basically brainwashed by your own government, and you go there and you would not even know that they had one of the most horrific things you've ever heard about happen on that island. And it's truly just kind of the way the people are there. It's kind of incredible to go to and to see. And yeah, I don't know, it's really interesting. Like I had this weird feeling where it's like, why in general are younger Japanese people obsessed with like Western culture and civilization? Because you would think you would hold quite a long grudge if a country dropped a couple bombs on you that did major damage and killed probably people in your lineage. You'd think you'd kind of be like, don't like Americans, but they love Americans. I don't know. I mean, younger people. There is also a thing in Japan where it's like you have a public face versus your like at home face, where you're pretty much always nice to people in public, or you should be. It's kind of this unspoken rule of sorts where, an old woman might be extremely nice to you in public, and then when she gets home, she might, kind of, man, he was annoying or something, whatever. But it was because it's that sort of public facing thing. Yeah, it's just really, really interesting culture in Okinawa and in Japan, but just kind of going to Okinawa first and learning all about it and all about how crazy different it was. It made my visit to Japan kind of much, much different, much, I don't know, just much more informed. It's just a really interesting history. So if you are a history buff, if you like history, I really like history. It's funny because in school growing up, I hated history. I don't know why. I just hated it. Mainly, I think just because it involved reading, and it's like I didn't want to read. I want to go play video games. But I now love history. I don't always like the fact that the sort of history is written by the winners, so therefore its history is often written and rewritten in a sense. So finding like, is this even totally accurate history is often very difficult. But nonetheless, it's extremely interesting for me to study history now. It's something I really enjoy, and it actually ended up being my degree. I minored in global Asian studies. I don't know how I can use that in real life, but I became obsessed with Southern Song landscape paintings in China during the Song Dynasty specifically. Was just like I had this obsession over these like Chinese landscape paintings, and so I got a minor in global Asian studies, which covered those classes that I took, and went to Japan twice because of that. And so it's just, it was just my draw towards turning what I used to thought I hate into something I love, and then seeing where that took me. I didn't really care that the minor really didn't matter, or it's not gonna like be the difference of me getting, maybe it will be getting a job one day, but it was really just because that was what interested me the most. I just couldn't get enough of those classes, so I took a bunch of them, got a minor, went to Japan twice, and now I'm one of those people who just loves going to Japan and will tell you all about it when you talk to me. I'll tell you all about my adventures there and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so check out Okinawa, check out their history. And if you get a chance to go to Tokyo or anywhere in Japan, please, I will beg you to try and do a small stint in Okinawa and really just try and get to know it. It's a cool place. They have a university there called OIST, Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology, and it is like the MIT of Japan in terms of like the facilities, the funding, the students, the basically the IQ level, the average IQ of the students. It's like MIT, Caltech, Harvard level students there. And so we got to go on a campus tour there. And at that campus, if you get a chance to go to Okinawa, check out that campus, get a tour, pretend like you got a kid who might want to go there or something. Go see it. It's so cool. One of the coolest places I've been. They do a ton of research into like renewable energy, especially involving like the sea because they're an island. So they basically, like the wind turbines. They have those for the water, and Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology was kind of pioneering that space of these wind turbines underwater in the constant slipstreams or whatever I think it's slipstreams in the water, the thing the turtles ride in Finding Nemo. But those are constantly running, so you don't have to worry about is the wind blowing today sort of thing. And they're underwater. Obviously, maintenance is probably much more difficult, but really interesting tech stuff they do there, and we got to kind of go see it. And that was years ago now, so I'm sure it's come even farther. But yeah, so if you get a chance to go to Okinawa, tons of cool stuff to do there. Tons of great food. They have their own like drink, which is like sake, but different, awamori. So try awamori if you're there. It's just a really special place. Definitely one of the most special places in my heart in Japan. I love Tokyo. I love Kyoto. I still want to go to Sapporo, Osaka, whatever. They're all awesome. But Okinawa, for some reason, it's stuck. It's stuck in here. It won't let me go. It beckons me back. So we'll see if I can get a chance to go do that. In other Asia news, I am trying to plan a trip to Thailand and potentially the Philippines. So my work, we actually employ a decent amount of people out of the Philippines, and we have not gone there and actually met them yet. I mean, it's only been about 6 months to a year of us starting to hire there. But Michael, right now, my business partner, is living in Thailand because he's a globetrotter. We went to Thailand together. We both loved it. He loved it enough to drop everything and move there. And was there for a while, came back here for a while, now he's back. And who knows when he'll be back again. But yeah, he's in Thailand, so I might go visit him. And then go to the Philippines, see our employees, and have the most awesome business trip of all time. That'll be my first ever business trip. Counts as a business expense. Ooh, write-offs. Everybody loves a good write-off. It's tax season, people. Get out there. Get your taxes filed, or file for an extension if you're lazy like I am. I don't know if that's terribly harmful to file for an extension, but meh. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so some of those stories, go to Asia. Check it out. If you're one of those people who's obsessed with Europe and never thought about even going to Asia, think about it. Think about it. Much different experience than going to a European country, which oftentimes it's different enough, right? It's like wow, different. But you still feel generally all right, I get it. I might be able to live here. But when you go to some countries in Asia, they're just so mind-blowingly different. When we settled in America, we weren't really trying to emulate, or we weren't coming from really Asian culture. We were coming from sort of British European culture. So that's what, a lot of Western identity and culture is sort of derived from. And it's also sort of derived out of a rebellion of that as well, in some ways. But in no way is it purely derived from this sort of Eastern, I don't know what to call it, orthodoxy. I don't know. That's the right word. I ain't good with no words. But yeah, they just kind of think about things in a totally different manner. One great example is just go there and look at the trash cans. You'll notice that, well, first off, there's hardly any public trash cans. And if you do find them, there'll be 6 different slots to put things in. That's because that's how specific they are on recycling and trash. So your food, if you had food, it would go in one thing, and then the wrapper for that food or whatever, it was like that aluminum tinfoil stuff that burgers come in or whatnot, you might throw that in another one, and then the plasticky openy container thing it comes in might go in another one, and then your water bottle might go in a different one, and then your glass bottles might go in another one. And that's how insane they are about recycling. And it's not that they're insane about recycling, it's that they are much more sort of community driven, in the sense of when they do things, when they, it's all sort of at the thought of the greater good of the people, and not necessarily for the greater good of the self, which Western identity and whatever is often based on this idea of, self and self-identity, and not really group identity as much as it is in Asia. But one of the reasons there aren't really public trash cans is you're not really supposed to be creating trash as you walk or go about your day. It's considered fairly rude to be walking and eating. If you're just munching on something while you're walking, that's kind of rude in the first place. And you can see why. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of rude to be eating in public in general. It's, first off, the food you're eating is probably messy. Nothing's very not I don't know. And then second off, people got to watch you eat. Like you're really not being considerate of people who don't really want to be around with someone with a taco out on the train or something, or like eating a burrito as they walk and they're spilling guac on the ground or something. You're really not supposed to be doing that. And that's why there's not like a ton of public trash. You should not be generating like trash as you walk, really. Maybe a water bottle or something that you got from 7-Eleven. And you'll find trash cans occasionally, but not like Chicago where it's like every street corner. Multiple of them, and they're like overflowing and gross. It's very organized, very nice, and like I said, it's the total different level of thinking versus the self and thinking about like the community at large. And that's kind of what Asian sort of culture is really based around, is that sort of larger, for the greater good sort of feeling rather than like for my good. And so if you want to feel that, go to Asia. If you want to feel that intense like sense of we're all working together towards this thing, kind of the Buddhist idea of the Sangha, if you're familiar. Kind of like that. But yeah, so it's really an interesting experience to go to Asia, especially if you're just like kind of your standard American is just kind of like Europe, cool. And like, no way I'm going to South America or anything like that, but Europe, cool. And they never see anything else but Europe and maybe some of the Nordic countries. I want to see those, but definitely go see. Don't dismiss Asia or parts of Asia. There's places you can go for cheap and live like a king while you're there, and it's perfectly safe. And then there's places like Tokyo that's like San Francisco level expensive, if not more. And, just a sprawling metropolis. So, this segment brought to you by Travel Japan. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you should go check it out if you've not considered it before. It's a pretty cool place. I liked it quite a bit. And there's something just about traveling. I like it quite a bit. You go out to like a bar and you just want to be social. It's a bug. You want to say hi to people. You look different. People are probably like, where's he from? And so it like encourages this sort of social interaction that I don't often get. And it can be somewhat addicting when you go to these countries and, people will just come up, hey, where are you from? And you say Chicago. And they're like, Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan. Everybody says that. Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. And then when they learn that my business partner's name is Michael and my name is Jordan and we're from Chicago, they freak out. And it is hilarious because Michael and I will go to parties here in Chicago, and we will, well, first off, we always mess up. We always introduce out of order. So I'll be like, I'm Jordan. He'll be like, and I'm Michael. And so the joke never quite lands because it's out of order. But we've done it plenty of times where it's in order. Hi, I'm Michael and I'm Jordan. And people are like, it's happened once where somebody's like, oh, Michael Jordan. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Like, you guys are best friends. That's hilarious. Ha, 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 ha. That your name's ha, 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 Michael Jordan. And seriously, in Thailand and in Japan, almost every person we met, even when we said it out of order, and I was like, this is the reaction we were going for. This is what I wanted to see. This is what the whole point of the bit is we're Michael Jordan from Chicago, and they just got it. It was like, no, like, I mean, I know people here like got it, but nobody ever goes like, aha, like I get it, like that's kind of funny. But everyone there was just like, that's funny, like you're Michael, you're Jordan, you're from Chicago, and you're Michael Jordan. And it's like, yeah, we know. We've been friends since 3rd grade. We've had this joke in the bag for a while now. Had it locked and loaded. Been sitting on it. In Asia, that joke works really well. So if you've got a funny word name, I don't even know if it's puns or whatever, test them out in Asia. They seem to land a little bit better. But yeah, that's about all for my Asia rant. I don't really know I have too much more to say on that other than just go there, check it out. Yeah, I think next traveling for me is probably Portugal. Going to Portugal for our honeymoon in September. Woo woo, honeymoon. Woo woo. But yeah, so we're going to Portugal. Should be pretty nice, pretty fun, great weather, beautiful scenery, and it's also a place you can kind of walk around, get used to the culture. It's not like a don't leave the resort type of place, which I hate going to those anyway. I hate going to a place that it's like you need to stay on the premise or else you will probably get stabbed. And that's just like, why? What? What? What's. I can get a beach and a hotel, tons of places in the US, and I can leave them, and I can go to cool places around it, and I can get the hotel, whatever experience that some of these places have. Except in those, I can't leave them, or I have a good chance of being like kidnapped or killed, or just whatever, maybe never seen again. And to me, it's like, what part of that feels good to travel to a place that is so corrupted by one thing or another that their people are driven to a life of crime? I'm not saying it's the people's fault, I'm more so saying it comes from the top down, but that the people have to be involved basically in crime to maintain life, like a lifestyle of any sort, or life. And you're going to go to that country, exploit it for cheap things, a cheap stay, a cheap hotel. Sure, you employ some of the employees at the hotel, but you probably attribute to a tourism problem that is hurting that country more than helping it. I don't know. It just all gets really messy when you start looking at like all-inclusive resorts in some of these places. That's just like, you probably shouldn't go there, but you're going to be in a shuttle from the hotel to the resort, so it'll be okay. And that's just kind of like not my favorite style of vacation. It's great. It's really great to just be like, all right, I'm on the premise and I'm free drinks and free food and boom, 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 pool all day. But I'm definitely one who, like, after a day of that, I'm ready to get out and about and go try the hole in the wall place, and it's like the best food you'll ever eat sort of stuff, and whatever. I really like kind of getting into a culture. That's why I like Airbnb. To me is like the greatest thing ever, because it's like you can stay on the perfect corner of the perfect neighborhood, or whatever that you want to be around, and you can go to local shops and try local things, and you're not like the standard tourist walking out of the hotel room or the hotel. And there's something to me about that that's so much more enjoyable. I love the Airbnb experience. So yeah, kids, go to Asia, read some books on the flight because it's a long, long flight, very long. Thailand was like 18 hours or something. When we went the Dubai route, so it's much easier to actually go the Tokyo route to Thailand. But just be prepared for a long flight, probably a layover somewhere. So bring a book, bring some of your favorite music, and enjoy it once you get there because it's fun. Also, did you notice this? I've been looking at this, like, I can't stop looking at it. Does my goatee here, all you people, I think it's just the lighting. I don't know. Oh, it looks, I think there is just weirdly this like blonde patch right here. It's like perfectly split. Where it's like blonde, brown. That looks really weird. Well, hey, I'm a freak, I guess. I'm a freak with my weird hair follicle patterns. Anyways, that's about it for this episode. I do appreciate you tuning in. We're gonna keep them pumping out every day. So check in when you can't. Don't feel bad when you can't as well. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody. I'm Jordan Johnson. It's been another episode of The Hack of All Trades.